Krishna is at the center. Beautiful painting on the left. Krishna is at the center. So many gopis, and so many gopis are attracted to the charming features of Krishna and speech of Krishna and Krishna. And look at this sky, it's a full moon. In both of the paintings, it's a full moon. On the full moon night of the Phalgun, Krishna and the gopis were celebrating Holi or Horika in a customary manner. So a little background. Holi or Horika was the sister of Hiranyakashipu, who tried to burn Prahlad in fire, but she was burned up. Along with customary dancing, this is represented by lighting fires on the eve of Holi. So they're celebrating Holi in a traditional way. The two lords praised the nightfall, signaled by the rising of the full moon and the appearance of stars, a lotus-scented breeze, and bees intoxicated by the fragrance of jasmine flowers. So it's a charming evening. At least it starts out like that, and then something else happens. So Krishna's having his Horika or holy dance with the gopis, and they're immersed. Krishna and Balaram sang, producing the entire range of musical sounds simultaneously. However that sounds like, who knows. Their singing brought happiness to the ears and minds of all living beings. Exceptional beauty was created by their singing and the gopis singing. So it's a singing concert. Now the scene is very nice until Sankhacuda shows up. The gopis became stunned when they heard Krishna and Balaram singing. Forgetting themselves, they did not notice that their fine garments were becoming loose and their hair and garlands disheveled. Now this painting that's on the lower left, this is one of the paintings from the book that Tamal Krishna Maharaj published for China on the rainy season and the autumn season following the summer season, from chapter 20. While Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram thus played according to their own sweet will and sang to the point of apparent intoxication, a condemned guard of Kuvera, a yaksha named Sankhacuda, who had made close friendship with Kamsa, came upon the scene. So, very ideal evening together, Krishna and Balaram and the gopis. So who is this Sankhacuda? According to Lalita Madhava, what's Lalita Madhava? You know what is Lalita Madhava? You know who is Rupa Goswami? Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami. One of the principal Goswamis of Vrindavan, associates of Lord Chaitanya. Rupa Goswami and his elder brother Sanatana Goswami. The Rupa Goswami was very gifted in many ways, and one of the things he was gifted at was writing. So I'll just tell this story because the topic itself is short. Rupa Goswami was immersed in thought of Krishna. And as he was making an overland journey, Do you know geography in India a little bit? Okay. You know where Vrindavan is? You know where Delhi is? North Central, right? Yeah. So, and then a little further west is Vrindavan. So he Rupa Goswami was living in Vrindavan at the instruction of Lord Chaitanya. And he wanted to visit Lord Chaitanya, who was living in Puri. Where is Puri in the geography of India? Yeah, all the way on the eastern side. So the overland journey, walking by foot, no train, no taxi, no, walking. On the way, he was in his mind composing a drama about Krishna's pastimes. He didn't have a computer, didn't have a cell phone, didn't have, no instruments for writing. He's just composing it in his mind. That's how elevated he was in Sanskrit. His plan was to have a drama about Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. Very elegant, very creative. However, as he was traveling, he passed a village in Orissa named Satyabhamapur. Satyabhamapur is named after Satyabhama. And Satyabhama, Satyabhama, one of the two principal queens of Krishna in Dwarka, Rukmini and Satyabhama. So in Satyabhamapur, Rupa Goswami had a dream. And in the dream, Satyabhama instructed him, don't just write one drama, write two dramas. Lalita Madhava and Vidagdha Madhava. Those that she gave the names. So the first drama is Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. The second drama is Krishna's pastimes outside of Vrindavan, because there's different mood in those two different areas of his pastimes. So Rupa Goswami didn't disclose this to anybody. It was a dream. Didn't have a recording or somebody. It just wasn't. It was his private dream. He finally reached Puri. When he was with Puri, after some days, Lord Chaitanya said, Rupa, I hear you're composing a drama about Krishna's pastimes. It should be two dramas, Krishna in Vrindavan and Krishna outside of Vrindavan. And as a result, Rupa Goswami could understand 2 + 2 = 4. Lord Chaitanya is omniscient. The Super Soul was a witness. Satyabhama spoke, and Lord Chaitanya also knows because he's the Super Soul, or he's situated in the heart of everyone, or his expansion is situated in the heart of everyone. And so he began composing 2 dramas. And in one of those 2 dramas, the title is Lalita Madhava. And in the drama Lalita Madhava, this is Krishna in Vrindavan. In Krishna in Vrindavan, Lalita Madhava, Kamsa was informed by these 2 buddies. The paintings on the left is Aristasura, and the painting on the right is Keshi, the horse demon. So they had mystic powers and could assume those forms, but they were just like, demons that had mystic powers. So both Keshi and Arishta informed Kamsa that amongst the damsels in Vrindavan, Radharani is the most attractive. And they recommended that Kamsa should cure her, Radharani, as one of his queens. Big mistake. So he thought that was a good idea. And so Kamsa, who had a friendship with Sankhacuda, sent Sankhacuda to go bring Radharani to be with him in Mathura. Now, Shankha, you know the meaning of Shankha? You, yes. Conch, yes? Conch. There are 4 symbols in the hands of Vishnu. A Shankha and a Padma, lotus for giving benedictions, and a Gada, or club, and Chakra for chopping. So a conch is a benediction-giving instrument, and this demon, Sankhacuda, got the name Sankhacuda because he had a big conch shell-shaped jewel on his head. So he became known as Sankhacuda. This jewel, which had a natural brilliance, was given to Sankhacuda by Kuvera. Who's Kuvera? We'll pick on somebody else, or younger generation people. I like picking on younger generation people. Who is Kuvera? You want to answer? Who is Kuvera? Kuvera. Okay. Kuvera. You know who is Kuvera? Yeah. He's a really rich demigod. And how did he get really rich, anyways? He's the treasurer. Do you ever notice how sometimes treasurers are really rich? Kuvera is the treasurer of the demigods. And Kuvera has lots of wealth. So he had a buddy, Sankhacuda, and he gave him this jewel, this conch-shaped jewel. And some say Kuvera gave it to him, and others say that he stole it, Sankhacuda. In any case, he had this nice conch shell-shaped jewel on his turban. And so Krishna wanted, come on in. We saved a chair for you in the back. You don't want a chair? Can you see the screen from where you are? No, her. You can. Very good. Okay. So Krishna wanted that Sankhacuda showed up. He didn't announce what he was there for, but Krishna saw the conch shell, and Krishna wanted the jewel. Not a conch shell, but a jewel shaped like a conch shell. So he knew he had to deal with Sankhacuda to get the jewel, and he knew it was going to kill him. So how to get the jewel and not become contaminated by touching him when he's dead? He was pondering. Even as the 2 lords looked on, Sankhacuda brazenly began driving. He's got a stick in his hand, driving the women towards the north, that's the direction of Mathura, without touching them, only by shaking a big stick at them. So look in the back, there you see Balaram and Krishna. Sankhacuda's got a big stick, and he's hustling the gopis in the direction of Mathura. The women who had accepted Krishna and Balaram as their lords began to cry out to them. Lalita Madhava said, not all the gopis, but only one. Only Radharani was taken, because that was his mission. Get this beautiful one, bring her to me. They were playing Horika, east of Govardhan. So now let's do our geography about Govardhan. Commonly, when the devotees do Govardhan Prikrama, they walk along the eastern side of Govardhan Hill and then down to reach the middle part of Govardhan Hill, where Govardhan town is, and then keep going down, 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 then back up the west side. So on the east side, across the street from Govardhan Hill, is the place where this pastime occurred. We'll see photographs of the place. It's a nice place. The demon took the gopis to Kamsa at Mathura in the north. And then the gopis are calling out, help. Hearing their devotees crying, Krishna, Rama, and seeing that they were just like cows being stolen by a thief, Krishna and Balaram began to run after the demon. Very bold, very foolish. The Lord called out, do not fear, to the gopis. They picked up logs of a shal tree and quickly pursued the lowest of Guyakas. Balaram, the inspirer, said, kill him quickly. Krishna, the inspired, said, yes, I will kill him. That's a pretty quick conversation. So there's a little a museum piece intended to illustrate, that's a Guyaka. The Guyakas and Yakshas both are military type personalities. They're assistants of Kuvera, and they have mystic powers. So Sankhacuda was one from that category. Servant of Kuvera and kind of a mystical Guyaka. When Sankhacuda saw the two of them coming toward him like the personified forces of time and death, he was filled with anxiety, confused. He abandoned the women and fled for his life. Didn't get too far. Lord Govinda chased the demon wherever he ran, eager to take his crest jewel. Meanwhile, Balaram stayed with the women to protect them. So here's Krishna chasing. Of course, the paintings are different, but he's got that big jewel on his crown. Some say embedded in his forehead. Some say in his turban. The mighty Lord overtook Sankhacuda from a great distance, as if from nearby, and then with his fist, the Lord removed the wicked demon's head, together with the crest jewel. And thus ends Sankhacuda. It was a pretty short-lived caper. Having thus killed the demon Sankhacuda and taken away his shining jewel, Lord Krishna gave it to his elder brother with great satisfaction as the gopis watched, because he didn't want them to be jealous. Which of the lucky girls is going to get the jewel? So he gave it to Balaram. With one fist only, Krishna took off his head and the jewel at once. So there's some other illustrations of the same. Notice in the painting the turban is falling off, and notice clinging to the turban is the conch-shaped jewel. And here it is again, the same slide we saw at the very beginning. So what's Balaram going to do with the jewel? In order to prevent each gopi from thinking that she alone should be given the jewel and prevent the rise of envy, Krishna gave the jewel to Balaram. However, later, Balaram gave the jewel to Radha. Now that's commentary, that's not the text itself, that's Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur. And who's that personality in the left? Balaram. How do we know it's Balaram? No. He look. Yeah, he's got the plow in his hand. Oh, yeah. And there isn't a peacock feather. There's this nice white feather. So this is an attempt to show the shape of the jewel, and it was brilliant, effulgent. It was said it was like brilliant like the sun. There's a very detailed description of this in Lalita Madhava. And there's a little bit of detail in Lalita Madhava that's very interesting. According to Lalita Madhava, when Krishna left Vrindavan, being taken to Mathura by Akrura, Radharani was beside herself with feelings of separation. So she had entered in the Jamuna River to give up her life, according to Lalita Madhava. And then the sun god said to his daughter, because the Jamuna River is his daughter, "Oh daughter, because she can no longer see Lord Krishna, your friend, Radha, has given up her body at sunset. Bring her to me at once." So the sun god, Vivaswan, said to the river Jamuna personified, "Bring Radha to me at once." Obeying her father's order, the Jamuna brought the grieving Radha to the sun planet. Now there's, as many of you may know, some of you may not know, there's some history of Radharani worshipping the sun god. Had no idea about that, right? Surya. There's a place in Vrindavan, very celebrated place, very beautiful place, where there's a deity of Surya Dev. And then the deity of Surya Dev is known as Surya Narayana. So Vivaswan is the name of the person, of the sun god, and Surya is the name of the post. Surya, the sun god. The question is sometimes we discussed this. I forget where I was when we discussed it. She worshipped the sun god because there are different persons who worship the sun for different purposes. Some persons worship the sun for health. Sun worshippers. Some yogis, they worship the sun because through the sun's rays they get powers to travel mystically where they want to go in the universe. Zoom, zoom. You don't need Wi-Fi either, just zoom. You can travel by the sun rays. But Radharani worshipped the sun god because that particular mood of having no material desire grants Krishna prema. So she was a worshipper of Surya Dev. It's well known in Vrindavan. There's lots of pastimes connected with she was going to Surya Kund. Her so-called husband Abhimanyu was telling, hurry back, and mother-in-law and sister and the whole thing. They were always checking up on Radharani. What's she up to? But it was a nice meeting place for Krishna and Radha at Surya Kund. Many nice pastimes. So, being a worshipper of the sun god instructed the daughter of the sun god is Jamuna River. So Jamuna brought Radha to the sun planet. This is Lalita Madhava. When Radha entered the sun planet, she gave the jewel, the Shamantaka jewel, to Suryadev as if it were a handful of flowers, meaning it's something of value to some people, but to Radharani it's not like special value. It's just, it has sparkling radiance like the sun, so you take this jewel. She was not interested in wealth. She was interested in Krishna. Some time passed. According to Lalita Madhava, something happened much later. The something that happened much later was there was a personality in Dwarka whose name was Satyajit. You know, you've heard the name Satyajit, right? Of course. You have? Okay. Okay. He didn't live in Dwarka, he lived near Dwarka, and he was an ambitious fellow. He wanted wealth. Some people want wealth. He wanted wealth. So he worshipped the sun god with prayers and offerings and, very intense worship for a long time. And finally one day, the sun god personally came and paid him a visit in his palace. And he said, "What is it that you would like?" "Well, I don't have any children, so I'd like a child. And oh, by the way, I'd like unlimited wealth, please." So Suryadev said, "No problem. Both. You'll have, here's this jewel, the jewel of Sankhacuda. You take the jewel." So the Shamataka jewel was now in the hands of Satyajit. Money, 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 because it said this jewel every day by worshiping would produce so many mounds of gold. So he became a really wealthy guy, Satyajit. And in addition, a jewel-like daughter. And the name of Satyajit's daughter was Satyabhama, but actually, according to Lita Madhava, Satyabhama was none other than Radha. But wait a minute. Wait a minute. Radha never leaves Vrindavan. For that matter, Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. An expansion of Krishna left Vrindavan, and an expansion of Radha left Vrindavan, but Radha never leaves Vrindavan. Some of you know the pastime, in case you don't know the pastime. When it was the plan by Kamsa to try to kill Krishna, he sent so many demons, nothing worked. He decided he would make the arrangement himself. So he had one of his ministers, Akrura, come to Vrindavan by like spiffy chariot, a Rolls-Royce chariot, to take Krishna from Vrindavan to Mathura to invite Krishna to take part in a bow festival. That was like an excuse. And then the real plan was to have a wrestling match with Krishna and have his wrestlers kill Krishna, Chandra, and Mushtaka as wrestlers. That was Kamsa's plan. So when Akrura took Krishna from Vrindavan to Mathura, there's a big scene. It's the separation scene. The residents of Vrindavan were going mad because he's everything for them. And he's leaving. They went mad. They threw their bodies in front of the horses and tried to check the reins and fainted, and they were going mad. Krishna left. And on their way, listen carefully, on their way to Mathura, Akrura requested, "May I take my bath before entering into Mathura?" So the chariot stopped. Krishna and Balaram took their bath. Then when Akrura went to take his bath, he mystically saw the form of Lord Vishnu reclining on Anantashesh in the river. And then he saw Krishna and Balaram in the chariot. And they were smiling. The explanation given, there's more details, but Krishna remained in Vrindavan, and an expansion of Krishna, Vasudeva Krishna, entered into Mathura. So Krishna never left Vrindavan. Swayam Bhagavan Krishna never left Vrindavan. He never leaves Vrindavan. He entered Vrindavan through his expansion, and then the two, Vasudeva Krishna and Swayam Bhagavan Krishna, merged into one Krishna. This is what our acharyas describe. And when Krishna left, he didn't leave. He remained in an unmanifested form in Vrindavan. And Vasudeva Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, went to Mathura, and then from Mathura to Dwarka, etc. Swayam Bhagavan Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. And Radharani never leaves Vrindavan either. So that Radharani that was given in as a daughter to Satrajit was an expansion of Radharani. And her name was given as Satyabhama. You know, similar but different. An expansion is similar but not the same as the original. So this is in the Lita Madhava. And there's another very interesting reference, which is a little confusing. So I'll just narrate it briefly. In two sources, Brahma Vaivarta Purana and Garga Samhita, it gives a description of who was Sankhacuda before he was Sankhacuda. Who was he in his previous life? That's an interesting question. Because we heard he was, in this life, a Guyaka, who was a particular kind of assistant to Kuvera. And from Kuvera, he received this, the conchshell, and that the conchshell was transferred to Balaram to Radha to the sun god to Satrajit. So who was Sankhacuda in his previous life? So these two scriptural references I mentioned have this very long, very interesting description that we're not accustomed to hearing, but it was published in Bhakti Purushottam Swami's Radharani book. Maybe some of you have seen it. It's one of the chapters. And the narration goes like this. Generally speaking, almost universally, the associates of the Supreme Lord in the spiritual world never leave the spiritual world. The exception, one exception, is Jai and Vijay. Gatekeepers in Vaikuntha, cursed by the four Kumaras. There's some backstory behind it. They, Jai and Vijay, understood the mood of the Lord of Vaikuntha. He wanted some combat. He wanted some chivalrous activity. And who's going to be a chivalrous person to have combat with Lord Narayan? Forget it. There's nobody like that. So they prayed silently, if you desire, we can do that service. So they were given that service for 3 lifetimes as demons. So it's very, very, very unusual that an eternal associate of the Lord, like Jai and Vijay, descend to this world. Similarly, this narration from these two sources, Brahma Vaivarta Purana and Garuda Purana, describe that one of the cowherd boy associates of Krishna in the spiritual world, in Goloka Vrindavan, his name was Sridham. Sridham. Yes, same name. I don't know if it's the same Sridham. Doesn't say. Same name for sure. Radharani's brother. In her earthly pastimes, she has a brother. Sridham is her brother. But this is in the spiritual world, Upper Golok. Upper Golok, that's what one sannyasi, he likes to use that upper Golok, the spiritual world. Varsana Swami likes that term, upper Golok. So, Sridham was cursed by Radharani to descend from the spiritual world to the material world as a demon. They got into some argument. There's some details of how that argument unfolded. There's a PDF that was circulated. You can read about it. And Sridham cursed Radharani. You're going to have to, who can curse Radharani? You're going to have to leave Goloka also and descend to the world and be separated from your beloved for 100 years. So there, curse and counter curse. Anyway, that's what's in this Radharani book of Bhakti Purushottam Swami. The reference is Brahmavaivarta Purana, gives the verses, and Garga Samhita gives the verse. So this is in the uppercut realm, in the spiritual realm. And in his previous life, according to this reference, Sankhacuda was Sridham in the spiritual world, cursed by Radharani. Now here is a nice verse when we offer our Mangala Charana prayers, when we have some function, we recite many prayers. This is one of them. And put in red letters, Ratna Singhasana. Ratna Singhasana is a jeweled throne. So Radharani is seated in Vrindavan, in a temple of jewels, on an effulgent throne, a Ratna Singhasana. Let's say the verse together. You like to recite verses? Divyad Vrindaranya Kalpa Drumadaha Srimad Ratnagara Singhasanasto Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Devo Prestalibi Sevyamano Smarami. In a temple of jewels in Vrindavan, underneath a desire tree, Sri Sri Radha Govinda, served by their most confidential associates, sit upon an effulgent throne. I offer my most humble obeisances unto them. So the presiding deity of Abhideya, or the principle of acting in one's relationship with the Supreme Lord, is Radha Govinda, and they're seated on a jeweled throne. Here's some photographs of that place. On the eastern side, along Govardhan Hill, in the bottom center, that is marking where the throne was set. And over to the far left is the same structure from a distance. And there's a body of water. That's the Akund. And it's in this same area where the Sankhacuda demon was killed. And just a few more slides and we're done. One of the teachings of Bhaktivinoda Thakur is each of the demons that were killed by Krishna indicate an obstacle for a sadhaka on the path of reaching Krishna. And Krishna is very kind for his sincere sadhaka devotees. He removes those obstacles. So hearing the pastime of Krishna killing Sankhacuda indicates Krishna's helping one become freed from this obstacle. Proneness towards acquiring name and fame, and desire for sensuous enjoyment under the plea of devotion. Interesting illustration, huh? So sometimes, not just wealthy people, just people, they take up devotion because they have an idea that by devotion, then my material desires will be fulfilled. I do something to get something. And the something I want is wealth, name and fame, and all the things that wealth can buy, sensual pleasure. So here's the final illustration. Here's some monks seeing some wealthy people in that big house over there, and they're going to fill their bellies. Hare Krishna. So that's something to be avoided. It's an obstacle on the path of bhakti. And the killing of the Sankhacuda demon is to indicate, it's not like, anyway, it's to indicate that Krishna will help a sincere devotee overcome that obstacle. And the pastime of killing Sankhacuda represents that overcoming of that obstacle. Now, I told you at the beginning, this is going to be much shorter than what we've been doing with all of the Putana pastimes. So we have some time, if you would like, to have discussion on this or anything else that you'd like to discuss. Pratibaho.
Okay, Maharaj. Maharaj, like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur had said, he, like Putna represents false teachers.
Yes.
And here Sankhacuda refers fame, pride, desires.
Yeah.
Is there has he explained why each demon...
It's his realization. He hasn't explained why. He's just explaining what.
Or how they represent, like...
No, that's the why. So it's his realization. That's my... You attended the last class? This morning's class?
I watched on YouTube.
You watched on YouTube. Okay. So you did. You attended it. Hari Suri has a different explanation. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has a different explanation. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's explanation is following his father's explanation. They concur. So, how it works like that, it's their realization. So she was pretending to be something that she wasn't. A super nice, motherly-like figure, and she had some other intention. So Krishna checked her, ability to do that. So similarly, and it's true, when people start taking an interest in spiritual life, there's a lot out there in the spiritual marketplace that's kind of pseudo and flaky and whatever. So how do we get protected from that? The sincere person, Krishna will protect. Now, how he does it is, different, but it's a principle. So it's one of the first things that someone going on a spiritual path encounters: false teachings and false teachers. Even when the teachings are genuine, they distort, like interpretations of Bhagavad Gita. And therefore, he would caution the new followers that didn't really know so much about Vedic culture, and you hear something that sounds like a reciting of a Sanskrit mantra or someone teaching Bhagavad Gita, they don't know what's what, and many of the teachings are distorted. So how to be protected? Krishna. So that's one of the first encounters on a spiritual journey. And therefore, that's Bhaktivinoda Thakur's realization. Putana represents.
Thank you.
And Krishna protects. Yes.
Maharaj, I have a question. This is primarily referring to the Sankhacuda story. As per Lalita Madhava, the one that you talked about.
Yeah.
Satyabhama is expansion of Radha Devi, right?
Yeah.
As per that.
Yes.
But somewhere we read Satyabhama is personification of Bhudevi, right? Mother Earth. Somewhere I read that actually. So which one is true and how do we interpret that?
I'd like to see the reference before I answer. Because somewhere I read, I think. I'd like to know what you read and what the source is from what you read.
So the reference, I may not remember the book, but I can give the context actually. The context explained that book is the Narakasur is son of Mother Earth through Varahadeva.
Yes.
So, and the boon that he has is cannot be killed. He can be killed only by mother. That's the boon that he has. So that's the reason when in Dwapar Yuga, so Mother Earth actually she has become a consort of Krishna as Satyabhama. Then they both went to that Pradyumnishnapura and they killed Narakasura. That's the story that I read, maybe somewhere in Mahabharata. I don't remember the book, but that was the reference though.
I'd like to see the reference before I respond. I'm sorry.
No.
Because round and around the mulberry bush. I'd like to be clear before I respond.
Yeah. So another broader question, Maharaj, that I have. So as we see the Sankhacuda story and the Jaya Vijaya that you referred, so in both Vaikunta and as well as in Golaka, so they are fallen for different reasons and they took birth in this material world. So is it that way? Is it interpreted? I mean, can we interpret that way that in even Goloka or in Vaikunta there is an anxiety exists?
No. Explicitly, I started this narration by saying the rule is living entities don't from the spiritual world come to the material world. Once upon a time, we were in the spiritual world. And we looked at our watch and said, you know what? I want out of here. And boom, we fell. As if it's an event in time. So Jai and Vijay descend from the spiritual world as the exception, not the rule. That's very clear. Okay. So this particular example from this narration from Garuda Purana, not Garuda Purana, Garga Samhita. Living entities, this is an unending topic, my experience is. And I have my understanding of this unending topic. And my understanding is that living entities' misuse of free will is not a chronological event. It's an ontological event. What does that mean? It means that it's not once upon a time we're in the spiritual world. And somebody looked at their watch and said, you know what? I don't want to be here anymore. And boom, in point of time, they left the spiritual world and came to the material world. That's a chronological event. The fall of the jiva is not a chronological event, but the event is an ontological event. Not within time as we know it, but it's the misuse of free will. Now, what is an ontological event that's not chronological? It's pastimes of Krishna. They're not within the boundaries of time, and the living entities that are in the material world, it's not a chronological event, which means once upon a time. And then something happened and we fell. That's a chronological event. It's not a chronological event. What kind of an event? It's an event of misuse of free will. but not within time, as we know it. No. This topic keeps going on and on and on and on and on. I don't know if you've been around that circle many times. There are persons on this side, persons on that side. Living entities cannot fall. And then living entities fall. Fallen souls. Where do we fall from? Then comes the whole other. And when did it happen? And what were the circumstances? As if it's a chronological event. That's the misleading. What my statement comes from Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, I hope you don't mind a little deviation over here. Bhaktivinoda Thakur had a very simple way of describing Lord Chaitanya's teachings. He called it dasa, means 10, mula means root, dasamula tattva. And it's derived from the disciplic succession, Madhvacharya, Baladev Vidyabhusan, Navaprameya, and then he made it dasamula tattva. Essential teachings within the Vedas. And then with the Lord Chaitanya imprint on it. So when it comes to the living entities, he writes, it's, because he wrote it in English, it was not just the translator's rendering of a Bengali or Sanskrit text. Goes like this. I'll say it twice. Do not ask the misleading question, because it's misleading, when the living entities were created, because they're not created in time, they're eternal, nor when the living entities fell. It's not a chronological event. Living entities are emanations from the Tatastha Shakti of the Supreme Lord. When did that happen? There's no when. They're emanations. They have a source, but it's not a chronological event. So don't ask the second time. Don't ask the misleading questions. When were the living entities created? Nor when were they enthralled? So what's an event that's not chronological? What's our experience of events that are not chronological? We can relate to chronological events, but what's a non-chronological event? The living entities fall is one of them. Nityabadha. Then it goes. The dialogue goes further and further and further, and da 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 da. So I don't want to go there. So the premise of your question, my response is, the premise of your question itself is misleading on the authority of Bhaktivinoda Thakur that makes complete sense to me. And he's the authority person. He's my go-to person. He's the Supreme Court. It's a misleading question. Yes.
Do we know the destination of Sankhacuda after he was killed by Krishna?
Well, of course. All of those souls that were killed by Krishna went where? Even on the Kurukshetra battle, those souls that were killed in Krishna's presence, they had a destination. The spiritual world. Liberation. Not just release from the bondage of their past sins, but becoming situated in the spiritual atmosphere. It's a privilege. It's an honor. It's a great benediction.
No information if he restored his position as Sridham in the.
No information. That description. I don't. Yeah, I was reluctant, but I did it anyways. Because it's little like it's too new, and like where does all this come from? And Radharani got cursed. So, is it possible to curse Radharani? Pardon me. Is it possible? It can be a Leela. And so Leela certainly, and that's what's said in the text. It's the influence of Leela Shakti arranged all of this. What's Leela Shakti? Leela Shakti is one of the spiritual potencies of the Supreme Person through which he conducts his activities and the activities of his eternal associates. So it's an influence of Leela Shakti. It's not Sridham. It's the influence of, may have been the instrument, but it's Leela Shakti of the Supreme Lord to fulfill pastimes.
Maharaj, there's the Chandravali camp, and then there's the Radharani camp in Vrindavan. Yes. And the gopis that are involved in this pastime when Sankhacuda enters, these are all part of Radharani's camp. And they're always pushing Radha forward. They want to assist Radha in Krishna's pastimes. They decorate her for his pleasure.
Yes.
So it's interesting that they can be a concern that there might be envy if, I would assume that the gopis would be very happy if the jewel is given to Radharani.
Better to be safe than sorry. And Leela Shakti, it's his pastime purpose. He gave to Balaram so they wouldn't have the possible issue. Balaram gave it to Radharani. Now, this very topic that you just brought up, for those of you that will be around for the Monday morning 6:30 a.m. discussion, we're going to touch on that topic with Chinese devotees, like significantly, because Chandravali is rubbing her hands together and Padma is making the arrangement and to get Krishna to crown Chandravali the queen and not Radharani, and it's like this, but we'll hear some more about that. It adds flavor. It's just like, eating khichdi without salt. You can eat khichdi without salt, but a little salt. Maybe a little cumin and some other spices too. Makes it flavorful. Yeah. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So I had a really it's kind of simple, like a simple question.
I like simple questions.
So yeah, so I was wondering, why did Krishna have to completely decapitate Sankhacuda?
No, he didn't have to.
Yeah, but
he didn't have to. He's liberating him.
But I thought that he probably decapitated him because the jewel was in his head.
Well, he could have taken the jewel. Did you decapitate him to take the jewel?
Yeah, that's really it. So.
Don't second guess Krishna. Why didn't you do it that way instead of this way?
Maharaj, in the Ramayana, it said that when Ravan takes Sita, it's the Maya Sita.
Yes.
So in the same way, when Sankhacuda takes Srimati Radharani, is it your Chaya?
Ah. There's no commentary to that effect, but it would make sense. Because how can a demon touch Radha? Good thinking. I'll go back and I'll see if I can find something in commentaries that say what you're saying or indicate what you're saying. I'll research it.
Maharaj, somewhere I remember coming across a reading that when Srimati Radharani goes to Abhimanyu's house, it's not her, it's her Chaya or again, I don't remember Chaya, but it's not Srimati Radharani that's with Krishna that goes to Abhimanyu's home with that.
My understanding is he never touches her. They're married and all of that, but he doesn't touch her. So not the Chaya form, but he doesn't touch her. It's a Leela that everyone is being enacting. That's my understanding.
Maharaj, we've been referencing Hari Suri, and in yesterday's slide I saw, I don't remember, but you had his guru's name, Hari Suri's. So I have two questions.
Yeah, I can't remember his guru's name, but there is the name for his guru.
So the first question is, did Srila Prabhupada ever talk about Hari Suri?
Well, you ask Hari Parshad and he says yes, but I don't recall it. I mean, Hari Parshad says when he named his disciple Hari Suri, it was Hari Suri. You can have that conversation with him. I'm not going to go there. But it's not that there was... he's from a different disciplic line, which is fine. And Prabhupada did make reference to writers and acharyas and skilled devotees of Krishna from other disciplic lines. But he's not prominently mentioned that I'm aware of it at all in Prabhupada's speaking or writings. And he's more of a contemporary author also than, let's say, the Goswamis and so forth. What else?
Second question was, do we know anything about his disciplic succession?
I've heard Hari Parshad recite it, and I'll tell you what I'll do. Rather than, because I know what Hari Parshad is doing right now, and he doesn't have time. But I know somebody that will know, because he very closely keeps track of these things, and I'll ask that person, and I'll forward to you. I don't know if we need to circulate it to everybody. Forward it to you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. It's more of a perspective of why Putna got the position as mother.
This morning's class.
Yeah, morning class. I may be wrong, but just a perspective. I mean, my thought process is there are only two kinds of person who thinks of anyone. I mean, 100% of the time, or every second of the time is either one who is in love with someone, or who is having very much enemy or hardcore enemy of a person. So this two kind of person usually think of the other person whom.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Manmadhava.
so either like motherly love or a lover or a bhakti. So you think of that person, or you have enmity of that. So for Putna, I see it that way, that she has been thinking as when she got the order from Kamsa to look for Krishna, she has been thinking of Krishna every time, looking for Krishna in every baby which she is finding there. She's basically looking for Krishna, and like a devotee look for Krishna every time. She was looking for Krishna. She was thinking of Krishna 100% of the time. And when she actually saw Krishna, so I'll go back to her previous life when she was Ratnamala. When she saw the form of
Vamana.
Vaman Dev, she got that motherly feelings. And now in Putna form, she is actually seeing the all attractive Krishna himself in the baby form. So she must have got the mother feeling there as well.
Yes.
And and that's where she got that. So she wanted to feed him. That's the one she was looking for. But she has got that mother feeling during that process, and
Yes.
later on.
You got it. You correctly understood. There was a lot of other stuff going on, but Krishna overlooked the other stuff, purified her of the other stuff, and amplified the one good thing.
Yeah.
And a good thing. And he just amplified it, maximized it. So very nice meditation that you've been having on this pastime. Very good.
Thank you much.
Okay, over here. Go ahead.
Maharaj, so I was looking at the picture of the monks trying to get like the result. So I started reflecting. So how do I offer the fruits of my actions when I'm doing the action itself for the fruit, and without it being inauthentic? Like
Well, that's how do you be sincere? How do you be not inauthentic, or how do you not be phony? I remember very clearly somebody asked Prabhupada, how do you become sincere? And he didn't pause at all. He said, everybody knows what sincere is. You just be sincere. That was his answer. To be genuine. So with bhakti, what's at the heart, that Krishna should be pleased. That's at the heart of bhakti. It's the heart of the heart of the heart of the heart of the behaviors is Krishna should be pleased. So whether it's on this side, there was some question the other day about austerities, or on that side, or seeking to get something, whether you're trying to give up something or trying to get something, what's the purpose of either? And if the purpose is not to please Krishna, then it's not bhakti. So how to have that purpose? Know what the purpose is, and do some scrub it up in the heart. Make the heart fit place for that desire to flourish. And that means, simultaneously the other desires should diminish. You turn on the light, the darkness is dispelled. That's the classic explanation. Just keep turning on the light. The light is Krishna should be pleased. The purpose of my life is that Krishna should be pleased. And everything. A to Z. And there are some things that are a little easier. Like let's take, because your whole family, you like music. So it's easy to like music because it's in your blood. You like music. Now, how to do music? So it's not just you like because you like it. That, you know, there's the meditation on the bhakti principle. Let me take this gift that Krishna has given, music, ability, and the attraction from music itself. Let me offer that to Krishna because it's Krishna's. It's for him. So you just keep exercising that bhakti muscle. And you neglect it, and it becomes weak. But you keep exercising the bhakti muscle, it gets stronger. So you just practice, abhyasa. And then it becomes your way of life. There's still going to be a mix, but then you keep striving for the rest of your life for the unmixed. Shuddha music. Shuddha sattva music. Kijai. Now, where's the other microphone? He's got something over here. Can we pass the microphone up front? Yeah, thanks.
Krishna Maharaj. So I actually had a list of questions, Maharaj, but I was thinking a few of them I can ask you right now and a few some other time when you're free, Maharaj. And some of them I specifically wanted to get your insights, Maharaj. So one of them is I actually asked this question to Gopal Hari Prabhu once, and I got his insight. But I was thinking this is something I feel like everyone has their own insight and understanding of this. So I was hoping to get yours also. So Prabhupada, in one of his lectures, he says that when the gopis were crying in separation from Krishna, for them that was the greatest happiness. That was even greater than the happiness they felt when they were meeting Krishna. So I was curious to know your realization on like how it was possible for them to be happier when they were missing Krishna.
Well, nice question. And I don't know how Gopal Hari answered that question. So it may or may not match, but probably it matches. It just may look like it doesn't match. Let's take what's the definition of happiness? And going to his question, happiness is that Krishna is pleased. The happiness of love is that the beloved is pleased. The happiness of love is that beloved is pleased. So whatever makes Krishna happy, that makes me happy. So if it's Krishna's desire, it's like, you know, Shikshastaka?
I've heard Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Yeah. So look at the last one, number 8 of the 8, and you'll find a description where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is like a blank slate. You can do with me whatever you like. You can make me brokenhearted by being absent from me. You can crush me by your embrace. You can neglect me. You can do with me whatever you like. Just one thing. Unconditionally, I am your eternal servant. So when one has that position, then that's greater happiness. That separation intensifies the affection for meeting more so than when one is meeting. The absence, the saying, absence makes the heart grow fonder. That's the understanding. The happiness is Krishna's happiness, and my eagerness, it can be the selfish happiness. Boo-hoo, I don't get what I want. Or Krishna's happiness is being achieved, and that leaves me wherever it leaves me. But my eagerness for Krishna's association has increased because there's separation. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. Happiness is Krishna's happiness. And being eager for meeting with Krishna, the eagerness for meeting with Krishna intensifies when there's separation. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. It's just an old adage. What's your other questions?
Another question, Maharaj, was this one. So our goal in Krishna consciousness and like in our like sadhana is to ultimately get to a point where where we're trying to attain the spontaneous prema for Krishna.
You
right?
got it.
That is our goal. So I've heard sometimes a few devotees, they say things like, if you do this practice, if you chant like this, if you do this and that,
That's sadhana.
sadhana, if you do these things in this way, then you will attract the attention of Krishna. And sometimes it feels like maybe I
Mechanical.
might be understanding it. Understanding this wrong. But some of the things that we do it to attract the attention of Krishna. But in my understanding, prema is just when, because I've seen about, like, for example, Meera Bhai and like, and in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, just thinking, he would just, tears of joy would appear from his eyes. So in my understanding, prema is just a feeling that you feel when you think. When you think about Krishna, it just springs from your heart. So I don't understand how you can be trying to attract Krishna's attention and also feeling prema for him at the same time.
Well,
They look like two
there's
different.
sadhana and there's bhava and there's prema. According to Rupa Goswami, we are introducing you to Rupa Goswami little by little. He wrote a book on the science of bhakti and indicates there's three divisions to his book: devotion in practice, devotion in ecstasy, and devotion in prema, or the pure love. So the goal is pure love, but there are stages, and there's sub-stages within those stages. So someone that's wanting to attract the attention of Krishna, that's a sadhana incentive or sadhana focus. I want that, so the Krishna should be pleased and want to attract the attention. That's to me, attract the attention to me, rather than let Krishna just be happy. And that's the bhava and prema stage. But so if the sadhana stage may very well be. But what, then comes the consideration, what's going to attract Krishna? What's going to attract Krishna is not, don't do it this way, do it that way, and that's more attractive to Krishna. You do it that way instead of this way. Let's just take cooking, because I used the example. You can make khichdi that doesn't have salt, but will it be more attractive to Krishna if I put a little salt? Not too much. A little cumin, a little turmeric, then maybe a little vegetable, not just. So then it's big. It's the devotion, not just the ingredients, that attracts Krishna.
So say I'm practicing bhakti to attract the attention of Krishna, just to attract the attention of Krishna. I can kind of like make it bhaktify it by thinking I want to attract the attention of Krishna for his pleasure.
Yeah, I recommend just like take that out of your vocabulary, and then you won't have to struggle with it. Meaning, what is pleasing to Krishna as opposed to what will attract Krishna. Yeah. That's love. The contemplation of the beloved towards the one who they love, the lover to the beloved, excuse me, is what's pleasing to them, not how can I get their attention. It's not self-centered. It's Krishna-centered. Bhakti is Krishna-centered. So just delete that vocabulary. Trying to attract Krishna. I mean, I'm not speaking against what somebody who may be encouraging you to attract Krishna. I just say use different language, and it orients the heart differently. Now, Krishna is attracted when there's love. He's not only attracted; he can be controlled by love. But the one who is able to control Krishna with their love isn't thinking, aha, now I got it, I can control Krishna. Not like that. You get your one more.
Yes, Maharaj. So this one. So Prabhupada in conversation with Bob tells him that Radharani is said to be the best devotee because she sees everybody as a devotee. Like, she doesn't make the distinction, this is a non-devotee, a devotee. In her eyes, everybody is a devotee, and she loves everybody as a devotee. So
What about you and me? We're not in Radharani's platform.
Yeah. So my question was, keeping that in mind, what is greater? When you try to bring people to Krishna consciousness by convincing them, or when you just love and respect them as they are without thinking devotee, non-devotee, just completely taking that terminology off your mind?
Well, you can't just delete it. You have to grow to that stage. You can't become an Uttama Adhikari by just rewiring your hard drive. The Uttama Adhikari sees in the second status. But it's not just by, repeat after me. Okay. So it's a question of consciousness. So at this stage, we make there's a stage of bhakti that's recommended. You see 4 gradations. There's the Supreme Lord. There's the more advanced devotee. There's the peer devotee. There's the less advanced devotee. And then there's the demon. So in the stage of bhakti, that's recommended. And if I try to imitate an Uttama Adhikari, I'm in trouble on many levels. So don't worry about those higher levels. Try to recognize at present, this is where I am. And the recommendation for persons like where I am is this kind of practice. Worship the Supreme Lord, serve the devotees, give compassion to the innocent, and avoid the demons. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's recommended for most sadhakas, especially in the beginning stage of sadhana bhakti. Those 4 gradations. And then the other option that you provided, that's a very high stage. And you don't imitate the state that you're not at. Recognize this is where I am, and I need to purify myself, recognizing what's recommended for me. I mean, like, for example, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, there's no one more dear to me than he who teaches this message of Bhagavad Gita to others. Well, why bother teaching the message of Bhagavad Gita to others if everyone's a devotee? Because they're already devotees. I don't have to do it.
So,
But
So I was confused because I think it's also mentioned that you should not. It's actually an offense to preach the message of Krishna to a non-devotee, right? So
Well, no, it depends. It depends. It's someone who is inimical. That's different than a non-devotee. One should be. This little refinement, please. Preach the glories of the Lord to the faithless is not the same as, a non-devotee. So someone may have just never had the opportunity or not much opportunity to hear the message of Bhagavad Gita, but they're not a devotee, so he can't teach Bhagavad Gita to them. We go distribute Bhagavad Gitas all over the place, left, right, and sideways. It's not offensive. We don't express to such persons intimate, higher understandings about Krishna and etc. Even devotional service. Although they're very elevated teachings, we don't teach elevated teachings. We basic teachings. Is it clear? So then it's taking there's a distinction between those who are inimical and those that are innocent, non-devotees. That's a discernment capacity. Supposing I don't know, then you're cautious. You don't say too much or too little. You move slowly. And if you find that people just bark and growl and vilify Krishna, then you step back. But the person is simply innocent, and they're curious, then you can share. Prabhupada goes a little bit further with all of this and says the devotee takes risks by, like the Sankirtan movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We chant the holy name in crowds of people when there's the whole mix of the whole spectrum of people. And we distribute books to the whole spectrum of people. Now they can say no, or they can, jump up and down on the book, spit on it and burn it, or they can do offensive things. But we distribute books. We're taking risk. Why? Pleasing to Krishna. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wants. So we do. Within boundaries. Okay. Is that it?
Thank you, Maharaj.
Does she have a question? She's waiting for prasadam. Srila Prabhupada ki